The 2021 summit is a collaboration between LIM College and FashionDex.com. This year's sponsors are Tex World New York City and Apparel Sourcing New York City. Before we put our first panelists up, I would like to invite Nancy Miller to come and welcome you all. Nancy.
Good morning. Thank you, Monica. I'd like to begin by introducing myself. I'm Nancy Miller. I'm the chair of fashion merchandising and marketing here at LIM College. And it's wonderful to have you all here, both near and far, on behalf of the college, where sustainability is part not only of our curriculum, but part of our core values. It is my honor to kick off the 4th annual Sustainability Summit. You know, today brings a little bit of deja vu for me because our first summit 4 years ago, which was held at Maxwell Hall here in New York City, was probably where I got my first lesson on how together we can bring about change to the fashion industry and world. And those lessons today are still with me, and it's a pleasure to be here. Today, we have assembled many thought leaders and agents of change. We have lots of speakers, we have students who are going to be a part of today, and I think you're going to learn and share and converse for the entirety of the day and probably afterwards. So again, I'd like to thank you on behalf of LIM College and FashionDex.
Welcome to our next panel. Up next is Material Sustainability with Shinola, Tide Ocean, and Material Exchange. With us, we have Kelly Burton from the Material Exchange, Greg Verras from Shinola, Thomas Schori from Tide Ocean.
I wanted to jump right into this interesting conversation on material innovation. So let's start with you, Kelly. Let's talk first about how important material choice is to sustainability and what factors should fashion brands be prioritizing today?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Jessica, for the great question. What a great way to kick off. So my name is Kelly Burton. I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer at Material Exchange. We're a digital platform that connects material suppliers like mills and tanneries with brands who are looking to source digitally, reducing waste through 3D sampling and prototyping, and then also sourcing responsibly. And so to your question, next week is COP26, where all eyes are on what really is our impact in our industry and how can we make a positive impact. And in the next week, a joint report from WRI and AII, so the World Resources Institute, as well as the Apparel Innovation Institute, is going to come out and actually give us some updated data on what fashion's impact is on GHG emissions. And the report is really compelling because they've broken it down by tier. And so what will be revealed is that tier 2 and material sourcing contributes 52% of the entire emissions for our industry. So when brands commit and they want to make a difference, they need to really dig into tier 2 and material sourcing, because choosing the right material, choosing materials that are as thoughtful as Tide Ocean, being as considerate as Shinola is, and in kind of bringing that into a story for a product, I think is really the way forward.
And Thomas, did you want to jump in?
Yes, thank you for having me, and hello to New York and to everyone. Yes, I think most important is when we talk about circularity and plastics, I think we need to act by design and not by disaster. And currently what we are doing actually is we are trying to solve a problem by using waste as a general and try to bring it back. But the main problem is that actually the design is wrong, that we do not have proper recycling systems. So basically we produce trash. And I think that's the main issue. And that's I think also a solution for circularity and sustainability is that we consider already at product level, what should we produce and where will it end up?
Hi, Greg. Did you want to weigh in on material choice and sustainability?
Yeah, thanks everyone. Greg Verras here at Shinola. It's been a really fun journey for us thinking about sustainable materials and working with Tide to kind of solve this puzzle and just play our role within the equation of cleaning up certain parts of the globe and creating products that people want, and yeah, just trying to do our part to complete that circle from material to consumer.
Now, Thomas, back over to you. Can you tell us about the distinction between single-use plastic, ocean plastic, and ocean-bound plastic? And how do those distinctions matter when it comes to circularity and next life?
So I think single-use plastic is it's definitely a raw material which doesn't have a long lifetime. You know, such as like a plastic bag or a PET bottle. I think plastic itself is an incredible raw material. You're able to design incredible products with plastics, but unfortunately, that kind of scientific-based material has been misused as a single-use plastic. And as I mentioned before, the issue is that there is no design how to get rid and how to recycle that plastic, especially in developing countries. As there are no proper systems in place, we automatically have the issue with landfills, means such as countries like Thailand or Malaysia, they have no other options than to put the plastic on landfill. And as it's not a natural product, it will remain on the landfill. The landfill itself will grow. And then during rainy season or monsoon season and strong wind seasons, the plastic will end up in the next waterways. And from the water, it always gets out to the ocean. And then we call that ocean plastic. Mm-hmm. Means when the plastic has reached the ocean and has, in my opinion, created the biggest damage. Then, as you have a high tide and low tide in the ocean, it's like a living organism. The plastic one day is coming back to the beach. Mm-hmm. So then it's like coastline plastic. But the main issue actually then is that people are cleaning the beach, like the nice hotel during your holidays at 6 a.m. in the morning. The guy is cleaning the beach, that you have a nice beach to stay. But what is he doing with the plastic? Again, no recycling system. So he's loading it on the truck back to the landfill. Mm-hmm. And this is actually called ocean-bound plastic. So it means it's a circle of devil. It's always circling around. And until we do not have a proper equipment in place to make use of it, it will continue forever. And right. This is where we are at Tide. We actually are taking out that plastic from that circle and bring it back into long life or long second life products, such as the watches of Shinola.
And while we're on you, Thomas, tell us about how your company came to be involved with the is it Jan or Jan in the Oscar Foundation?
Jan. So actually, as soon as we have developed the process to giving that waste a value together with the Swiss University of Applied Science, we had to develop the supply chain. And most importantly, not only the supply chain itself, we also had to develop a value chain, because you need to integrate and motivate people to collect that plastic. And the best way is to get connection to good people is through a foundation, because foundation, they're not cash oriented, they're not business oriented, they're mainly social oriented. So we have actually got in contact with that Jan and Oscar Foundation. It's actually a very sad story, but how that foundation got built due to the tsunami disaster, but it also brought up a lot of chances. And with that foundation, we know exactly that the people on site in the countries are treated well, that they're paid with fair wages. And actually, it's an incredible collaboration. And this shows that actually business can meet foundations, and creating a value throughout the whole process.
It's a sad story, but it's a great story in the end. Now, Greg, let's pop back over to you and talk actual product. So how did the Shinola team decide it was time to incorporate a sustainable material into your products?
Right. So for us, the journey was the roots of Shinola. Actually, I would say our sustainability roots come from creating products that are quality and that will last a long time. Repairability is big for us. So we've sort of subtly worked in those areas, and then when a product idea came along, for us, our creative process, sometimes we start with a name that we fall in love with, and the name is Sea Creatures. For the next watch that we wanted to do, we have a line of plastic watches within Shinola called Detrola, and so this Sea Creatures was intended to be our dive watch within this collection. And so we were not targeting ocean-bound plastic initially. We kind of worked at it from what does the consumer want from a sport watch, essentially dive kind of water resistant watch. And the more and more we worked on it, we didn't feel good about creating a watch made of plastic intended to go into the ocean. Given the current climate and sentiment from consumers and just our own guts. So we began a search to see what was available to us. And luckily for us, we already had a great relationship with Thomas and Tide, and this new thing he was kind of working on. And so the stars lined up for us quite well to begin to implement this product within Sea Creatures. And so we just began to look at it from that lens, keeping our eye on kind of who we are and creating a long-lasting product of heirloom quality, and now implementing new materials beyond stainless steel and leather. So really fun challenge.
Can you tell us about how the relationship between Shinola and Tide came to be? Because you said you had a long-lasting relationship before you actually started using the material.
A crucial part of the watch is the band and the strap, and we had worked with Thomas in some of our past lives on that part of the business, and so just keeping in touch and Thomas, maybe you can jump in and I don't know if you want to touch on that part of your journey or not.
Actually, it's a relationship actually with Shinola we have since many years, and the original business actually, or one of the shareholders of Tide actually is Braloba. It's a manufacturer of high quality watch straps and wearables. So actually, we're in collaboration with Shinola since the beginning when they started their manufacturing in Detroit. And then Tide actually came out through a project by using ocean plastic. And then, as we are in a almost daily dialogue with Detroit, I think it was just a matter of time until the first watch gets born out of that material. But again, this shows exactly its relationship, and it's actually that ecosystem and also the value chain within the businesses that we talk to each other, and we share that experience and we share that innovation. And this will allow us actually to use or get rid of that plastic even more by connecting with each other.
Great.
Yeah, Thomas, you've been kind of an angel for us. It's, helping us set up the strap manufacturing to begin with in Detroit, and now helping us with this new product.
So Greg, what were some of the consumer insights that you gleaned from going through the process of working with a new material? What was some of the feedback? Did you make any tweaks based on what you were hearing from customers?
Yeah, for us, it was we developed this product during the pandemic and not and under sort of a rushed timeline. So as many projects are, so not a ton of research before we launched. Really, it was a product we believed in, thought should exist, and so since launch, we've heard a lot of great things about the story. People have reached out to us, Material Exchange, one of them, to set up our previous talk. People that want to start studying our carbon footprint. We're a small company, so not something we can do on our own. And so not only, the consumer feedback was great, just in, selling watches, and that part of it was nice, but beyond that, just it created a lot of interest in people wanting to know a little bit about the process and just the sense of people wanting to help with the mission.
Got it. And so you touched on how this was sort of maybe kind of a rushed process. You're designing in the pandemic, which of course was challenging for everyone across the board. Can you walk us through the design process, sort of from ideation to final product, and how that maybe was different if you were doing it remotely?
So we were able to kick the project off pre-pandemic, and so we did some of the initial work there, and then just our transition into this was fairly seamless. For me, it was my personal journey. We were also having a child at the time, and so just a lot of change and a lot of new, we saw it as an opportunity to sometimes meet more, connect with our customers more, and do events like this. And as far as process goes, it was fairly seamless. We had to move our 3D printers into our basements and develop products in different environments, but it was same tools, same people, just less driving, which was nice.
That's one upside. So what was your kind of biggest takeaway from working with a new material? What were some of the learnings and challenges that you encountered along the way?
Yeah, I think it was just an opportunity again to step away from stainless steel. There's kind of within the watch industry, a very old industry, lots of rules and how you finish the case and treat the metal, and so when you start thinking about plastic just on a design level, it unlocks a ton of new things you can do. It also creates some limitations to work around, and so for us, color was a big opportunity as far as bringing color into the case of the watch. This is kind of the prototype, and so we can have a ton of fun with that. We knew there would be some competition in this space, so we wanted to kind of incorporate as much of the material as possible, from the case back to the bezel. And so, there's a lot of, I would say, more opportunities than challenges, and the challenges, I lean on engineers for that. So for me, it was a lot of fun sketching and 3D modeling and research, color. So.
Great. Now, Kelly, this is a really cool kind of material to product story. And what else have you seen going on the Material Exchange platform? Are designers flocking to these kind of non-traditional, more sustainable options these days?
I mean, that's a great question. And this is such a great collaboration. And I'm so grateful because we just came out of beta. I don't know if anybody saw, but Material Exchange finally had our launch the past week. But we've been in beta for almost 2 years, and really grateful because Tide was one of the first material suppliers to get on the platform and to really kind of push us in making sure that we had a platform that was really usable by the industry. And really, we're a dating site, right? We put together brands and buyers and material suppliers, mills and tanneries. And so the opportunity is limitless. Coming out of beta, we have over 23,000 materials on the site. So it's quite daunting, and we're hoping to grow that to several hundreds of thousands in the next coming months. But what we've really done, kind of inspired by the Tide story, is try to figure out how to simplify sourcing for responsible materials. So we've developed a sustainability search tool that breaks responsible and sustainable and preferred materials into 12 categories and makes it easy to find an amazing product like Tide Ocean. And so we have categories like environmental stewardship, water stewardship. So environmental stewardship, taking into consideration the facilities and what they're doing to reduce their impact. Water stewardship would be like chemical management programs on site or some sort of water effluent treatment strategy. We also have one for social compliance. We have one for recycled content. And so a material like the Tide Ocean material if you were searching for a material for social compliance, for example, it would come up. So it would meet a couple of your, as a brand, a couple of your pledges and your commitments by virtue of how thoughtful the material has been designed. So we've created this sustainability search tool to really highlight how thoughtful some of the new materials and the innovations are in the space. So it's growing, and I expect it to continue to grow.
Great. And you said you wanted to grow the number of materials on the platform into the several thousands. Can you tell us about, how you onboard brands and how that whole, maybe suppliers really, how that whole process works?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So we're a SaaS-based platform, so the suppliers pay a subscription fee. We have a small freemium, so any supplier can come on and really, we're a digital platform. We want to see tier 2 start to use digital tools. We did a digital sourcing survey in the spring, and we asked brands and suppliers, where are you in your digital journey? 47% of the brands are already using digital design tools like Clo or Browseware, and only 14% of suppliers have 3D scans available. So we have this mismatch of, where design is going and where suppliers are kind of missing that opportunity. So we have a freemium category where suppliers can build a digital profile, and I think they get 5 to 10 materials scanned for free, 3D scanning. So that's a great opportunity for everybody in the supply chain. And then we have a paid tier, which includes more materials, etc. So that's kind of how we're trying to bring all the suppliers of the world onto the platform. And then the buyers can use the platform for free. So we have a wait list. Buyers can get on and they can browse the materials that they need, that they want, by geography, country of origin, material, content type, etc. And then we've also started building out material management systems for brands for themselves. So we are using our technology and white labeling it so that brands can have a digital catalog or a digital library of their materials. So it's super exciting, and really at the end of the day, reducing the need to send so many swatches and to do so many samples and prototypes in actual physical form, when now we have the digital tools to kind of do a couple of iterations in the digital form and then reduce how many actual physical samples you're requesting.
That's definitely at least a step forward and in the right direction for the industry. Now, Greg, you mentioned something interesting about how other companies want to study your carbon footprint now that you're kind of working with a new material. Can you talk about that and how you calculated the carbon footprint and how it kind of compares to working with traditional materials?
We haven't been able to yet. It was simply a customer that walked into one of our stores. She happened to be a researcher and was interested in just comparing and contrasting these elements. So something that's in progress, but yeah, love to update you on that someday.
Yeah. It's because, like you said, it's something that people are really interested in talking about these days. And so if it's happening at the consumer level, then the onus is definitely on brands to make that happen. Now, Thomas, your company offers a variety of different products. Can you tell us about the differences between the granules, the yarns, and the process that goes into making them?
Yes, actually at Tide, we basically offer granules, and due to the high quality of the granules, we also have the option to extrude them into yarn. Means extruding into yarn, then into textiles, the typical polyester textiles. The advantage we have with that option is that we can actually support the brand throughout the whole process. So it's not only with delivering the raw material, it's also by setting up the parameters for production, as we have multiple offices around the globe, also in Thailand and in China. And so far the manufacturing happens in China, besides Shinola, but is actually that we can support on site. So our idea of Tide is that we're actually not only a raw material supplier, we're also kind of a label. We are a label which can support the brand from A to Z. So if they have any technical questions, our engineers are here. And also thanks to the very intense partnership with the Swiss University of Applied Science, we can also start complete new projects. Just an example, we have currently a request from a large CE brand from the US, which would like to actually recycle their existing products. And as there are multi-filament products, it's quite difficult to recycle. So actually we support that brand in bringing back their existing material into circular economy, that they are able to reuse what they have already used once.
That's interesting to keep us updated on how that goes. Greg, back over to you. What was the internal reaction to working with a recycled plastic? And has this kind of unlocked an interest in exploring additional innovative materials?
Yeah, I would say it certainly has. Initially, it's a small idea that grows and starts to vibrate within the company, and as more creatives and planners and engineers and finally manufacturing gets their hands on this product and story, you can feel the energy build, and people working with pride of putting out a product they feel good about putting it into the world. So that part of it was great, and it has the only downside of a watch is it's small, so we're not using a ton of the material, and so we're looking at larger products, clocks, architectural elements for stores and hotels, and so hopefully watches is the beginning and more of an emotional tip of the spear, and from there we can take those learnings into new products and see how we can evolve it in ocean plastic, as well as I think the door is open now for us for a lot of new exciting things. Maybe we'll look at fur straps based on the last talk.
There you go. And can you tell us about the results of the World Ocean Day launch of the Sea Creatures Watch? Excuse me.
Yeah, that had been our target. Part of the reason it was a rushed project, and it landed really well for us. Consumer response was great. We launched with East Coast Surf Mag, Whalebone, who did their own storytelling around it. So the goal was to get people excited about the watch and the material, and just try to create some energy, not just for ourselves, but for everybody that's trying to use this product, because it's the more scale you have, the more I think effective it becomes.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any sense of whether consumers were excited simply because it was a great product, or because it was, slightly better for the planet as well?
We make sure that we're keeping our eye on both. First and foremost, you have to have a product that people want, and then somewhere in there is the material story. And for some people, that's their primary reason for buying the watch. And certainly we've talked to a ton of those folks. But beyond that, yeah, you can't totally rely on that. You've got to create an excellent product that cuts through the noise in other ways as well.
Now I have a question for everyone on the panel, but we'll start with you, Greg. Is circularity the solution to ocean plastic?
I'm not sure if I'm totally qualified to answer that. It's been like I said, it's great within my role of being a hands-on designer. And if it contributes to circularity or a product that lasts 40 to 50 years, that's, I think, a step in the right direction.
Kelly, how would you respond to that?
I mean, I think that's $1 million question. And I think that when we start to talk about circularity, there's a couple of elephants in the room. First of all, should we be producing so much single-use plastic? And is there enough circular solutions to address how much single-use plastic there is? I mean, and what is missing in this conversation, and I just kind of want to bring it up, is kind of the backstory too of the Jan and Oliver Foundation. Like the social impact of the of the gathering of the raw material is fascinating, and it doesn't even get it's kind of so far down the tail that it's hard to fit into a tagline or into a hang tag. But the Jan and Oliver Foundation has recognized that the fishermen are losing income due to decreased fish as it relates to the climate crisis, and so has found ways to actually use fishermen and the excess space in their boat from not having as much fish to gather the ocean-bound plastic to continue to make the same amount of money that they used to. So that's kind of I don't explain it as well as Thomas would for sure, but I think that social element of the capture of the material is also really key to a circular solution and the circular story. So I'm just in love with the backstory of this product. And I think when we talk about circular solutions, that we should be looking at both the social and the environmental impact. And this product and this material does that.
All right, Thomas, you get the last word on this front.
Yeah, actually, thank you, Kelly. Cannot agree more, right? The concept basically works. And I think that's the good part of it, that how I see it, actually, circularity is you need to have like 3 pillars. It's not only the environment. Of course, environment has priority, but you still need to motivate people to get that done. Means you need to create that social impact. And social impact doesn't only mean for developing countries. It's also for first world countries such as Europe or the US. You need to motivate people to return that plastic and bring it back to a recycling station. So that's really, it's education. And most importantly, if you have already that trash available, you need to create a marketing advantage that basically the consumer gets motivated to buy a recycled product. Because a recycled product doesn't mean it's a bad product. Basically, it's a good product. Because we always forget, when we use new plastic or single-use plastic, we actually use a lot of fossil resources. And by using a recycled product, you don't use fossil resources because they have been used already. So you simply give a use to it again. So I think that's all about education in developing countries, but also in first world, that people know, like, talk to your grandparents, reuse, repair, recycle, turn off the light when you leave the room, such basic things. I think we need to bring our grandparents on stage. They will tell us how it works.
Yeah, they certainly have a different perspective than we do today. Now, Thomas, what impact can a material scientist have these days?
So a scientist, so in the field of development of raw materials, or
material scientist.
Yeah. So I think most important is that he develops a product which can be recycled. There's at the moment so many products built, like multi-component plastics. Just an example, when you add specific oils or specific fibers into a plastic, you cannot recycle it anymore. A lot of the automotive parts have so many additives, it makes it almost impossible to recycle. So a material scientist, in my opinion, his main mission is to produce a plastic which can be used again. And at the moment, it's all technically oriented, it's security oriented. It needs to pass all the incredible tests. Look at the Prop 65 regulations in California. And such kind of regulations force the industry to get more and more complex, but it makes it even more difficult then for the recycling industry to reuse again.
Right. And Greg, do you see designers today having kind of more influence in changing the conversation towards sustainability?
Going through this process, the influence we can have is on maybe the storytelling end of it and creating a quality product. Yeah, we can amplify good ideas, I think, we can be a loudspeaker for those things and make them appealing. But yeah, could do it all over again, I try to get better grades and be a material scientist, because I still, as a designer, I think we need better materials yet. And so hopefully in the future, we'll be implementing more and more interesting, innovative, circular materials.
Mhm. And Kelly, how big is the market for circular products?
I mean, that's a great question. I mean, if you looked at hashtags and looked at kind of conversation, you would think that that's all there is in the world. It seems like all focus, all even kind of verbiage and vernacular around sustainability has kind of shifted to circularity. It feels like the hot word at the time of our time. But everybody is defining it differently. Like when we just watched the Saga First panel, he was talking about biodegradability after 20 years. And so, and even Amy and Millie were talking about circularity as biodegradability. But what Thomas is talking about is circularity with a continual loop of usage. And so I think when we think about the potential of circularity, then yes, I think it should be 100%. And I fully agree with Thomas. I think that we should have policies in place and all materials should have a circular solution. There should be a second life or additional lives in the development of the material. If you look at Textile Exchange, and they've started to do their benchmarking project, or like their annual benchmarking, according to them, 48% of the brands think that they are committed to using a circular material. So if 48% is where the brand usage is, then we still have more room. But I don't think we have a good enough definition of what circular is. And I don't think that we have enough impetus to really kind of hold the bar high enough that it means that there is additional usage of product.
Absolutely. And now another question for everyone on the panel. I guess we'll start with you first, Kelly. What most excites you about what's happening in the material innovation landscape right now?
I mean, I think when Thomas starts talking about material scientists, I think the intersection of STEM and fashion is really exciting. I think that as we start to bring in PhD, LCA, like life cycle assessment evaluators, as we look at kind of what really can happen around material science, I think that there is just a whole landscape of opportunity. I think we need to stop using non-renewable resources for materials, AKA petroleum and fossil fuels and virgin polyester, and then just move to renewable resources as a full stop. And then what we can do with renewable resources, I think, is limitless. So I'm very excited, just to kind of plug Material Exchange again, that we have this opportunity with our sustainability search tool to really highlight. So right now there are 12 categories, including circular solutions, carbon solutions, regenerative materials, and biomaterials. So as materials evolve and as we have new innovations come on the platform, the brand users will be able to find them easier. So I'm really excited also about new materials having market access and being able to be found and used and utilized in the open market.
And just a quick follow-up to that, Kelly, of all the different kind of attributes that you mentioned, regenerative, et cetera, where are you seeing the most interest and traction right now?
Well, I think a lot of brands are committing to sustainable cotton. A lot of brands are committing to recycled content. We see almost 100% on both of those categories. I see a lot of dialogue about circularity and regenerative, but I don't see a lot of established definitions of what that means for brands when it comes to their commitments. I think next week when COP26 and we have hopefully some sort of mission to move forward around carbon, that I will see a lot more traction and a lot more innovation around carbon solution materials and really an intense focus. Like I expect that users on our platform start to click environmental stewardship as a search criteria in every single case and are looking for mills and tanneries and producers who are trying to be carbon sensitive and are working to reduce their emissions.
Got it. And Thomas, what most excites you in the material innovation landscape?
Just quickly a remark to Kelly's comment, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I don't want to throw too many numbers to you, but just that you have heard that once. There's annually a plastic demand of 350 million tons. That's like 10 million containers. And at the moment, only 9% gets recycled. Those are numbers from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. So means we are leaving 300 million tons of plastic every year left. And we produce every year. So there's definitely no excuse not to use recycled materials. There's plenty of availability on the market, theoretically. To your question, what excites me the most? Actually, it's not plastic. It's what I really love, and I'm in close contact with a few companies, is all this lab-grown development for lab-grown fish, lab-grown meat. And I think that's an exciting new development to actually protect fauna, flora, and still, close the demand of the people to eat something good. And the quality of those products are getting better and better. So in material innovation, it goes more into the food sector, but I think that's really an exciting part. And this continues into leathers to get into material a bit. So there's lab-grown leather alternatives. It sounds a bit weird, but actually I have seen some trials, and it's really a very nice approach from the industry.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it's interesting. I wonder what fashion is going to look like in 20 years, and where our clothing is going to come from. Over to you.
Like lab-grown diamonds is also an example of
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Greg, what excites you right now?
I think for me, and something we've been researching quite a bit, is sort of a material, more of a process in 3D printing. We use it quite a bit for prototyping. The Sea Creatures project, we actually tried to use ocean plastic within the 3D printer. Weren't able to pull that one off, but so yeah, as that enters not just prototyping but manufacturing and creating only as much as we need through 3D printing, probably still a ways off. But yeah, metal printing is coming online, and you see a lot of kind of efficiencies in working that way, and a lot of design opportunities as well. Beyond that, I think lightweight materials will continue to be important to help cut carbon as plastic potentially goes away. What is that lightweight material of the future that you can make just about anything out of? Those are things that I'm excited about right now.
Great. And how do you respond to the, I guess, criticism sometimes that circularity comes with compromise? Is that something that you encountered throughout this process?
We haven't gotten a ton of, haven't had a ton of dialogue around circularity as it relates to what we've done, but I've certainly seen some out there, and yeah, whatever we're doing today isn't going to be good enough tomorrow, I think, just as a general rule for anything. And so we try to take positive steps forward and learn from those, and yeah, just keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And Kelly, do you have any thoughts there?
More generally, just about kind of, and they touched on it in the previous panel, this kind of ostracization or this demonization of certain materials. Like I think to Thomas's point, I think if we were to point an arrow, really virgin plastic should be, kind of top of the list. And then understanding that we're on a journey when it comes to the innovation and the development of other products. And so we don't have circularity down yet. I mean, Tide Ocean does, and with the kind of the backbone of the Swiss university system and researchers, they've kind of far eclipsed other brands and developers, but we're all on a journey when it comes to circularity. So I think when people talk about it, it's more that they recognize that it's complicated. They recognize that there are inherent challenges to taking conventional materials and legacy materials that we've had for, 10, 20, 30, 40 years and trying to make them circular. So as you start new things, nothing will be perfect. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think we hear a lot of chatter about different materials and their pluses and minuses. And I think that dialogue is healthy for our industry.
Absolutely. And Thomas, what do you think about the question of circularity coming with compromise?
Yeah, I think for the moment, the biggest compromise actually from the business side, actually, it's always price. It's somehow everyone wants to be circular, everyone wants to be sustainable, but nobody wants to pay the ticket. And I think that's the biggest issue I see, because in my opinion, the consumer is ready to pay for it. Mm-hmm. When you ask the new generation, 16-year-old girl, if she can select for a $29 white t-shirt or the cheap $19 t-shirt, mm-hmm. I think the new generation goes for the $29 t-shirt, and they're ready to pay that price. But somehow the industry is not there yet. Every time we present Tide, everyone says, "Oh, exciting project, exciting what you guys doing," but how much does it cost?
Right.
It's like, it's not that we're doing a fortune of that. Of course, we are a business. We need to earn money. We need to be sustainable as well, right? To pay the fishermen, to pay our people. But it's like, it's all about the price. We are always compared to the virgin price. Mm-hmm. And I think that's wrong. Maybe the new generation, when they get into the age, into the manager level, when they grow into those positions, they will understand. But I think we have a hard way to go for the coming years until the old generation understands that this has a ticket.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a cost to everything, and someone pays it somewhere down the line.
And how could you afford not to? Like, just to follow in onto Thomas's, like, yes, what is the real cost to future generations and to not investing in better materials?
Right, absolutely. Thomas, another one for you. And this, I guess, is more towards the yarn product that Tide Ocean makes. How do you address the question of whether the limitations in recycling technology right now mean that plastic textiles essentially are kind of a circularity dead end?
Again, when you mix the textile with different other components, it's getting really difficult to recycle. And polyester is one of the most common textiles. Polyester is equal to plastic. We can do a compromise and only work with cotton. Mm-hmm. That could be a solution, but then you have to make some compromise in quality. And as I mentioned in the beginning, plastic itself is really an excellent raw material. So you can do so many things with it. Mm-hmm. And we simply need to get control of the end of life management of those items. And there actually, I'm sorry, but it's a job for the government. They have a lot of people in the field, and they need to bring out rules. For that, we pay tax. This is a government job. Otherwise, it cannot be done by any nonprofits.
What is your company doing about microplastics? Because, even if a garment is made from a recycled plastic, if it's laundered, it's still shedding. So how do you feel about that topic? And I guess, what is Tide Ocean doing on that front?
Yeah, actually, it's interesting when we get blamed about the microplastics on textile. Of course, the best is not to use polyester. Then you can avoid it. Mm-hmm. That's the only way. But I think we should also look at other microplastics, such as the car tires. Every 20,000 miles, you need to buy a new set of tires, right? Mm-hmm. So the question is, where did that plastic go? Right. So it's actually microplastic. It ends up somewhere. It's not only the textiles. And I think when the textile industry works on really innovative products by using recycled polyester or from recycled fishing nets and brings it back into the life cycle or back into the product cycle, and then gets blamed about the microplastic, I think it's really, I think we should see the positive side of it first, and maybe the microplastic we should address at some other, like the car industry first, before blaming like the textiles.
But it's a problem happening across the board, so it has to be, I guess, addressed and solved across the board. But I totally get where you're coming from. We're probably all sort of guilty to a certain degree. And Kelly,
Yeah.
looks like you have something to say.
No, I totally agree. Like, and I think that Thomas is right. Like, I think we should be thinking about durability and wearability. And, you know, it's not just in the washing of those garments, it's shedding. You know, I'm wearing a sweater that's shedding, I'm sure, as I speak. But, you know, we need to kind of recognize, and to Thomas's point, focus on what is really important. So in the case of Tide, capturing all of that ocean-bound plastic and repurposing big pieces as opposed to small micro pieces, I think it's a problem, and I'm really looking forward to material scientists solving the problem in the future. But yeah, until we get to a place where, back to Thomas's original thing, where we are figuring out what to do with 300 million pounds or 300 million tons of virgin plastic each year, I think that should be a bigger focus than microplastics.
Yeah, you have to start somewhere. And Thomas, I think this one, sorry, not Thomas, Greg, I think this one is for you. We have an audience question from Jasmine, who's actually my colleague. So when incorporating new materials, how do you navigate the pitfalls of a problematic substitution when the alternative might pose a different set of problems than the original one?
The microplastics thing aside, I think the question was how do we deal with challenges when we're swapping materials?
Right, because you might create a new set of problems as a result of using something new.
Right. Well, that's, I think, the story of human progress as a whole is creating new problems and solving them. And so we've gotten pretty far and done well with as a species to continue to move forward, and we'll always be creating our next problem as we're solving our last one. And I think that's part of the process.
Yeah, I would agree. And Kelly?
I mean, that's a perfect designer answer. I love that answer. Yeah, we'll just design the next solution. And I think that's kind of what Thomas's point was as well. Like, yes, we will get to microplastics, I think, as a species and as in our generation, I think, as well. But it's not our number one problem yet.
Yeah, that's an honest answer. I'll take it. Thomas, can you tell us about what's next on the company roadmap right now? What are you guys working on? What are you trying to solve or improve?
Yeah, actually, what we have seen is that for Tide, like, the social impact is even bigger than the environmental impact. So, and as long as there's so much plastic produced, I think our roadmap is actually to expand. We're developing currently a partnership in Ghana and Africa to basically copy the system we have in Thailand. We are in talks with Mexico. I'll be in Cancun in like 3 weeks, where we meet a big plastic company in Playa del Carmen to discuss potential on-site recycling systems for the North American market. And of course, the roadmap is also to spread the word of Tide, the label of, in my opinion, the only true label, because we are really 100% transparent. We're developing a blockchain solution that every plastic can be tracked. And the advantage of blockchain is that you cannot change it anymore. So once it's locked in, it's locked in. That also the consumer has the option to scan a QR code on the final product, and he knows or she knows from where the plastic came from. And the ultimate goal we have is actually to get out of business, that no more plastic is in the market. So I'm not sure if I will survive that, but definitely that's our aim, actually, to get rid of that problem.
Maybe in a few centuries from now.
Yeah.
And Greg, what's next for Shinola?
I think whatever's next, we'll try to stand behind who we've always been. I think creating long-lasting, repairable products, and like I mentioned earlier, we're moving ocean-bound plastic into clocks and other items, and really looking at our packaging as well. For sea creatures, we used hemp paper for the first time, and recycled airline uniforms for the watch pouch. So we could have a whole nother talk on, I think, packaging, and it's a really exciting space too for us right now. So yeah, lots happening.
That it is. And actually, Kelly, I think we'll end it with you since we're almost out of time. It's interesting that Greg just touched on packaging, because are you seeing a lot of interest in that on the Material Exchange platform?
So I hope to see it in the future. I mean, obviously packaging has just as much impact as material choice. We are just starting to onboard some trim suppliers, but we mostly do raw materials for footwear and apparel industry. So textiles and leathers, trims, laces, molds, like things for, and we haven't got into packaging yet. But once we get sourcing simplified, and really with our sustainability search tool, we're really trying to simplify responsible sourcing. Once we get that done for these industries, then yes, I could see us moving into packaging and other industries as well.
Mm-hmm. And, right now with Gen Z in college and coming out of design school, are you expecting to see this conversation around sustainability and circularity kind of ramp up in the next maybe 5 to 10 years?
I mean, I think that's why we're so poised for growth right now, because a lot of the graduates and hopefully a lot of the audience are already using 3D tools, and they really need the analog sourcing industry to get into the digital era. So we are poised to really kind of accelerate that transition. And then I think once you have a digital solution and a digital marketplace, that you can start sourcing by credential, certain certificates, certain programs, and really, I'm hoping that, like a rising tide to lift all ships, that having this generation understand the complexities of environmental and social stewardship and searching for better materials, that everybody is going to produce better materials. Like, it's going to be a market imperative to just make better materials.
Right. Well, we are well on the way. Well, thank you. We are out of time. Greg, Kelly, Thomas, thank you so much for a great conversation. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.